Have you ever looked at a Sargent painting or a Zorn portrait and thought, I would give anything to paint like that? And then you sit down at your easel fully intending to paint loosely and expressively, and somehow, despite your best intentions, you end up with the same photographic, overworked, muddy style you always do? It's so frustrating. You know what you want, you can envision it in your mind, but no matter how hard you try, your paintings just don't look like those confident artworks that you admire. And after a while, you start to wonder if maybe this is just who you are as a painter. Maybe you're just naturally tight. Maybe you'll never be able to paint with that kind of freedom. But here's what I've discovered from helping hundreds of painters through this exact challenge. Loose painting isn't a personality trait. It's not a matter of potential. It's just like any skill. You can learn it if you have the right system. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact process I use when I want to learn a completely new style of brushwork. A process that's worked for me and helped me to make this my full-time career, and it's worked for hundreds of my students. And because I know this is such a common struggle, I've put together a free workbook that accompanies this video. It'll walk you through this entire system step by step. It includes exercises, reference examples, and everything you need to start learning loose brushwork today. When you download it, you'll also get an email from me inviting you to reply and share any places that you might be stuck on or areas you're having challenges with. Things that you're running into that you just don't know whether you can work through them alone. I read every response and I genuinely want to help. So grab your copy, links in the description, and let's dive in. Now, before we get started, I want to address something. There's a particular challenge that teachers like me face when helping others work through a painting problem. Usually, the teacher is so experienced that the student naturally doubts that the same results are possible for them. So when I show you how to improve your brushwork as a portrait painter, it's easy for you to think, okay, well, it's easy for Chelsea because she's been painting portraits this way for years. Of course she can do this. And that's a totally fair point. So today I'm going to do something outside of my comfort zone. I'm going to teach myself a completely new style of painting. Something I have no established formula for. Something where I can tighten up just as easily as you can because I'm not constantly training myself on this particular approach. Because this isn't my standard head and shoulders portrait or animal portrait. This means my experience is going to be much closer to yours. I don't have shortcuts stockpiled here. All I have is a system for how I solve problems when they come up and a method for reverse engineering my way to a specific painting style. And I want you to see that system in action so you know it works, even when you're starting from scratch. Alright, so step one in learning any new brushwork style is to get crystal clear on what you're actually trying to achieve. And I mean crystal clear, not just I want to paint looser or I want bolder brushwork. That is too vague. You need to know exactly what kind of loose painting you're looking to create. Here's why this matters. Some great paintings have been made when an artist just wings it and tries something new. But when we have a singular goal of training ourselves to work in a new, looser way, we learn so much faster because we're absolutely clear on what the end result is supposed to look like. The reality is that if we just sit down and try to wing it, or if you think back to any examples of painters you know who seemed to just fall into their style this way, it's important to remember that they probably had so many failed attempts that you never saw. And chances are you don't really want to have to go through those failed attempts if you don't have to. And that's what we're going to bypass with this approach. So before I made this painting, I created a vision board. And I don't just mean any old Pinterest board with 1,000 random images on it. I mean a carefully curated collection of paintings that all share the exact qualities that I'm trying to learn. In my case, I created a vision board specifically for this style of brushwork with this subject. And as I added paintings to that inspiration board, I made sure everything I added had similar compositions, similar colors, and most importantly, similar brushwork. This is my North Star. This tells me exactly what I need to paint to get the kind of looseness that I'm after. Now, here's what most painters do, well, not ideally. They collect inspiration, but they never actually analyze what makes those paintings resonate for them. They just think, that's pretty, I like it. But if you want to really learn from these paintings, you need to dig deeper and actually study them. So I looked at my vision board and I asked myself, what do these paintings have in common? What's the composition like on each of them? What colors are they gravitating toward? How thick is the paint? Are they using brushes or palette knives? Where are their hard edges versus soft edges? Are there any patterns I can discern there to help guide my mark making? So for instance, take these landscape paintings. I noticed that they use a lot more impasto than I typically do, both with brushes and with palette knives. They tend to use more knife work in the areas depicting sunlight or areas where maybe there's water and that water is really still looking. The brightest, warmest areas seem to have the thickest paint. And that's a useful clue that I can apply to a landscape painting of my own. Which brings me to step 2. Finding or creating a reference that already looks like the painting you want to make. This is where so many painters get tripped up unnecessarily. They try to paint loosely from a reference that simply doesn't support that goal. And then they wonder why it's so hard and think that something must be wrong with them. Let me tell you about my student Kitty, who knows how tough it is to get exactly the reference you want, especially for something like a colorful landscape, which is her specialty. Capturing color in the moment is nearly impossible with a camera. Like, sure, they do capture color, but it often pales, literally pales in comparison to what it looked like in person. Not only that, but often, the color that as an artist you're responding to is only there for mere seconds before the light changes and the moment is lost. So even if you had intended to eschew the camera and do it completely from life, it is so fleeting that it is just a really tall order. So you feel stuck. Either you paint plein air to capture the color as you see it in person, but the light changes so quick that you can't even get it down on canvas in time, or you take out your camera, but when you look at the photo later in Lightroom, the color looks nothing like it did on location. So here's how I solved this. I went through hundreds of reference photos that I had taken over time. And not just like the pictures I took last Tuesday, literally years worth of photos. And I looked for one that already resembled the paintings on my inspiration board. And here's the trick. I put my reference photo down on my inspiration board with all those paintings that I admire. And then I reorganized the board so that similar paintings were grouped together. So, blue skies in one corner or warm sunset colors at another end of the painting. And then I put my reference photo nearest to the most similar paintings. And I asked myself, does my reference photo blend in? When I look at this board, can I easily tell which image is my reference image versus the inspiration paintings? Now, of course, if I'm looking really closely, I can tell that a bunch of these are made with paint and really thick, juicy brushstrokes, and another is a photograph. But if I just kind of squint and I take in the overall composition without thinking about brushstrokes, well, if my reference sticks out like a sore thumb, then it's not the right reference. I need to keep looking or go take more photos. But in this case, at first glance, I genuinely can't tell which photo is my photo and which are the paintings. And that's how I know that I'm set up for success here. My reference already looks like the kind of painting that I want to paint. Now, this isn't some landscape secret either. Trust me, I don't have any of those. The exact same method works for portraits, it works for animals, it works for figures, it works for still life. Anything. And the workbook that I mentioned is there to guide you through this no matter what subject matter or style of brushwork you're drawn to, because the principle is the same. Your reference should already look like it belongs with the paintings whose style you want to learn. That's how you know that you're going to be set up for success. All right, now for step 3, which is to study the specific technique you need to replicate the brushwork that you want to learn from. So, once I have my reference sorted, the composition, the colors, the value structure, all of that already has been worked out. My reference has been taken care of. Now, all I need to focus on is the technique. So, how are these brushes or palette knives actually being used? This is where master study is invaluable. By trying to match a painting you want to learn from brushstroke by brushstroke, you naturally start to develop a feel and make realizations that you can then apply to your own work. So I like to use master studies as both a general training tool that I can use on an ongoing basis, but I also like to use it as a warm-up for a particular original painting that I want to make. You've seen me do this in my John Singer Sargent series, where I recreate sections of his paintings and then apply what I learned to my own original portraits. I'll link that above if you want to see how that works in practice. But here's the thing. A master study isn't just about mark making. It can teach you how to mix more nuanced color, control your value structure more precisely, understand composition, or attune to subtle drawing decisions. For this painting exercise, I made mark making my primary goal. After all, this video is about teaching myself a new style of brushwork, and I want to get that kind of impasto that I was seeing on my inspiration board. I was less concerned with perfect accuracy in my drawing, or potentially dialing in my values or colors perfectly. So as a warm-up to this original piece, I worked on a master copy from my inspiration board, where I tested different brushes, I loaded up more and more paint, until I started seeing the kinds of marks that I was satisfied with. And if I had gotten stuck, which absolutely happens, I would have gone back to that master study. I would have gone to that specific passage and really dug deep on exactly what is happening differently on my canvas versus the master painting. And I would try to replicate that as closely as possible before trying to apply that same technique back to my original painting. Now for step 4, and this is important, it's to practice with purpose and repetition. So the truth is, just about any skill in painting takes repetition. No single exercise is going to transform your art overnight. Trust me, as much as I want to help my students, I look for these exercises, and if I could hand one to you, I absolutely would. But I have learned from doing this for so long, that from helping so many people, and also just being a perennial student myself, and really actively trying to learn new skills and hobbies outside of the art studio, I've learned that essentially anything that involves genuine mastery or love of your craft is something that you have to do over and over. You can't just flip a switch. And that's part of what draws us to it in the first place. But there are exercises and ways of structuring your practice that minimize wheel spinning and help you to grow in the most efficient way possible. With this painting, I've got a lot more practice and confidence with a looser technique that uses thicker paint than I'm used to. And for today, what I've done here is enough for me to be really satisfied. But to continue refining this skill, my best bet is to keep doing exactly what I just showed you. Keep refining my vision board for specific painting problems that I want to solve or aspects of brushwork that I want to explore. Find references that already look like those inspiration paintings. Do master studies of passages of paintings that I really want to be able to bring to my own canvases in some way, and then apply those techniques to my own original work. It's a cycle. Vision board, reference, master study, original painting, repeat. Each time through the cycle, you wind up getting better. Your eye gets sharper, your hand gets more confident, and slowly, that loose, expressive style that you admire becomes your natural way of painting. Here's what I've learned after years of doing this and teaching it to hundreds of painters like yourself. The painters who make the fastest progress are the ones who have a clear system. They are not just going where the wind blows them, trying everything and just hoping that something clicks. They are deliberately identifying what it is they want to learn, studying it with intention, practicing the specific skills that aren't clicking right away, and then actually putting in the work to apply those skills to their own work. Let me tell you about one of my students who used this exact process. So she had been painting for years, but unfortunately, this meant she had years of really entrenching a way of working she wasn't happy with. See, her art business revolved around taking portrait commissions. And for each commission, she really wanted to make sure she was getting an accurate likeness. So every time she would use a grid. And because she wanted that accurate likeness, what naturally happened was that her work just tightened up and looked more photographic. Her clients would always be thrilled because she had captured their children beautifully. Like, everything was very faithful. The pieces had no flaws in terms of the likeness. There was a great deal of craft and care that went into the making of these artworks. But this student felt so let down by her own work. It just wasn't fulfilling her. She was really sick of the grid. She was sick of turning in commissions that felt like glorified photos, and she was happy that her clients were happy. But her art career wasn't just about the client's feelings. This was also about her own sense of fulfillment, and that was seriously lacking. She was so frustrated that she was ready to throw in the towel and just accept that maybe this was just who she was as a painter. But she took a leap of faith when she started working with me, and she went through this process. And I want to make it very clear, she had been stuck in this old way of working for years. This was where her muscle memory was. She believed that at best, unlearning all of this stuff was going to take years, and maybe it would only shift just so faintly for her. But she was willing to give this a go for that chance at a slight improvement. But after just 3 weeks of following this approach, she made her first original painting that was in a completely new style. And it was the style that was on her inspiration board. Not only that, but she didn't need a grid at all. And after she made this painting, she was like, I am done with this grid. I see now that I simply don't need it. And within a few more weeks, her commission clients were coming to her asking for this new style. When I asked her what it felt like to have believed that she was stuck for so long, only to have the transformation happen after 3 weeks of applying this, she said that she was floored, like she couldn't even believe it. I suspect that deep down, she believed that at best, this would be a subtle, slow change, but that after actually experiencing it, and this one I know, I'm not imagining this piece, she told me she wished she had just started sooner. And I think that's because she really underestimated just how radical that transformation could be when she had a solid process to follow. And that's what I want for you too, because this feeling of being trapped in a tight painting style, it's not permanent. You can change it. You just need the right approach. So if you're ready to finally break free from tight, overworked oil painting and learn that loose, stylish brushwork that you've been dreaming of, whatever it looks like, go download my free Alla Prima workbook. It walks you through this entire system with exercises, examples, and everything you need to get started. The link is in the description. Go ahead and grab your copy. And I love to hear from you in the comments. What style of brushwork are you trying to learn? What painters inspire you? Let me know, because your comments help me to create content that is more geared toward what you're looking for. And until next time, happy painting, everybody.